G'day everyone, it's SDS SuperCoach providing SuperCoach content for you. I'm here to present our top eight defender predictions, and joining me is Corey from the Break Evens. How you going, mate?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, mate. Good to have you make your debut on the channel. So yeah, I'm going to do a series of predicting the top players in each line with content creators, and who better than to start with Corey? So it's absolute pleasure to have you on, mate. So
Thanks, mate.
we've written down our top eight, and we're going to give two honourable mentions. Uh, yeah, to tell you guys about, but really it's a top eight prediction. So we've got our averages prediction there as well. Before we get started, how can we find you on the socials, mate?
Yeah, so you can find me on X, which is quite weird these days to call it X, but at Break Evens Pod. You can find me on Facebook, the Break Evens, and on YouTube, of course, the Break Evens, or at breakevens4091.
Perfect, mate. I believe on YouTube you're only 5 subscribers away from 200.
Yeah, it's got a bit of traction lately, which is great. And 200 might be on the smaller side for some people, but it's been a slow grind. And yeah, I've been loving every bit of it though. So
No, that's great, mate. Look, I'll get this uploaded tonight, and I'll make sure that you're on 200 before the end of the night. So
thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
no worries. So make sure you subscribe to the Break Evens on YouTube and follow him on all his socials. You can find me on Twitter at Stephen DW Smith, and also on TikTok now that I'm unbanned, SDS_SuperCoach. Let's get started. So I think we can name our couple honourable mentions to kick things off. Who are your ninth and 10th guys you can't quite fit into your top eight prediction?
Yep. So in the 10th spot, I originally had Callum Mills, but his injury's gone down, and I was like, maybe there might be a slight role change early, just so he eases back into it. So I've gone with Jordan Clark, someone who I'm big on. He went 104.6 last season, and I see him going at roughly the same, about 105. I think last year was a breakout for him, and I think he will continue that role on, and a little bit of natural development and progression there, possibly. I did look at his stats for last season. I can't see too much of an improvement. He averaged 24.7 disposals, um, which I don't think he goes much more than that, if I'm being honest. The only area he could probably get more is kick ins, but as we know, Luke Ryan takes all of those. And really, he goes at 80% efficiency. So it's just maybe less turnovers and clangers and maybe a few more tackles, but I don't see too much there. So I think 105 is probably spot on for him.
Yeah, nice, mate. And yeah, look, one of my honourable mentions is Nazai Wanganeen Miller at 10 with I've got him averaging 104.1. Look, I just think I just wonder where else he gets his scoring. I just wonder if that makes him very solid, but not outstanding. As good of a player he is, I'm not taking any credit away from him, but because he's one of the best in the competition at that specific skill of kicking. But there isn't much intercepting going on there. Could Sinclair rotate back? There's a couple of question marks, but I think he's super safe. You'll get a score between 90 and 120 every week. And yeah, unfortunately I can't quite fit him into the top eight at this stage. And then at nine for me, as another honourable mention, will be Dane Zorko. I just wonder if so. I've got him at 104.7. I just wonder. I guess in the role there isn't as much risk with age, but do you wonder if those injury problems could creep back up? Is he going to have as good of a year as he did last year? So I've got him dropping about 6 points, plus the addition of Kadeen Coleman eventually back into the side will take away a fair bit of scoring, in my opinion.
Yep.
Corey? Have you named your other honourable mention?
Yeah, so at 9, I had James Sicily. I think he's going to get a bit of a bump with Barras and Battle coming in to that Hawks defense. I think that opens him up a little bit more to be a bit more free and intercepting. Obviously, there is the chance he does push forward at times, which he did today, actually, very late in the first quarter, which I've heard he's done a lot of that in match sim anyway, pushing forward late in the quarter. But he did start in defense, which is the main thing. Um, Last year, he went 98.9, and I think he goes 105 with Clark, but I think, he'll be 105.4 where Clark could be, 105.1 or 2, So I've got him at 9, which I don't think most people will probably have him in the top 10.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess a bit of a bolter, but we know what he's capable of. I guess there is a world where if he was playing full-time defense, he could get back to those 110 sort of averages, but just probably with the forward, little bit of forward time sprinkled in there, probably drops his average a few points. Let's get into the top eight, shall we? So
Yep.
at number eight for me, averaging 105.2, I've got Sam Flanders for the Suns. So I think people might see this as quite a dramatic drop, which is fair enough. I mean, this is 14 points lower. But remember, a lot of that time last season, he was actually off the half back line, which was his best line at getting Supercoach points. Now, with the additions of Noble and Rioli, I don't think we can expect him to be playing backline at all this season. So I am expecting more of a midfield forward sort of role, which can cause a little which can cause a little concern for his scoring. So at 105.2, I do think he will be part of that midfield rotation a bit still, but I think that half forward risk is pretty important for where I'm ranking him. So I've got him at eight. Where have you placed who have you placed at eight?
At 8, I've got Dan Houston. He went at 106.8 last year, and I think he goes 106 again this year. It's going to be the same role, the same Houston that we know. The only thing that I'm worried about with Houston is Collingwood, apart from Dacos a couple of years ago, didn't they don't really have a set kick in taker. Like usually Darcy Moore will have a few, Quain or Jeremy Howe. Houston's going to be in the mix definitely, but I don't think he sees the abundance of kick-ins that he did at Port Adelaide. Um, but that could be totally wrong. I haven't seen the kick-outs from yesterday's game against the Tigers, but I just don't think those kick-ins will be there this year. So I think he just stays at 106 because we know how good he is going forward with the ball. So
Yeah, no, that's fair enough, mate. Yeah. Um, yeah, I haven't named Houston yet. Sorry, spoiler. Um, Now at number seven for me, I've gone for one of your honorable mentions, and that is James Sicily, where
yep.
I've put him at 106.1. So very similar discussion to what we had before. I think 98 is value for Sicily, even with the sprinkle of forward time, but I do think he won't quite reach that ceiling that we know he's capable of. But I think 106, somewhere in the middle, I think is pretty fair on Sicily. Still not too old just yet. I think he'll benefit a lot with intercept marks around the ground, and still one of the main distributors off half back, taking kick-ins along with Carl Amon. So yeah, I think 106.1 for me is fair with Sicily. Who have you chucked in at seven?
I've got Jerry McGovern in at number 7. So 110.3 last year. I've got him going 106, pretty similar to Houston. I think there's going to be a little drop. With Barras obviously leaving, they seem a little bit thinner with their key defenders, West Coast. And I think at times he might have to be a little bit more reliable, and less that intercepting, which is what he's used to and what he's made a career of. He's one of the best to do it. Now, I could be totally wrong. He could be like Sicily, who, if he has to play that lockdown, he can still get plenty of marks because he's so good one-on-one. But just Barras out, there's a little question mark over his role. How consistent will it be? So I think there'll be a slight drop, and I've got him at 106 average at number 7.
Fair enough. Yeah, I actually didn't even include McGovern. So, yeah, there you go. Yeah, similar with that, but I think the drop for me, in my opinion, could be a bit worse. I really do think there's accountability with what he has to do now without Barras. So, yeah, I think there'll be a bit of a drop, but he's an absolute champion of a player. At number 6, I've got Jack Sinclair. Where I've got him averaging 106.7. I think the hamstring that he's done is fairly concerning. We know that players with interrupted pre-seasons can sometimes not last the season as well. Starting to get a couple of soft tissues now, Jack Sinclair. He headed into the previous season with a calf. So yeah, I think there'll be a drop. I think he's fine in the midfield, but I think he's better down back, and it does sound like he's going to play more midfield. So I think there'll be a slight drop, but at the end of the day, he still is an upgrade target for us down the line. So I think yeah, they'll put more responsibility into Wanganeen Miller. Who have you got at number 6, Corey?
At number 6, I've got Zorks. I got him going at 107 this year. I think the role won't change too much with Coleman in. If we saw last year, Zorko and Leicester had, almost, well, Leicester definitely did a career best year, and Zorko, we know how class he is and how good he was, and the fact that he was able to stay fit. He had an All Australian year as well, and with Coleman coming in, I think Zorko will keep that role, but Coleman will be the more attacking, get the ball moving sort of guy, where they'll use Zorko to help switch the play or to use his foot skills to get that kick inboard. So he'll still be very damaging. And I just think after the year that he had last season, it'd be pretty stiff to push him forward or into a different role. So I've got him going 107. And last year he took 111 kick-ins at a play-on rate of 91% as well. So there's definitely room there for him to score points.
Absolutely. Like that's one of the keys in that type of role, getting the kick-ins, but also playing on. And we see that most of the case with a lot of these distributors. At number 5, I have got Jordan Clark from Freo. So I've got him taking an increase in average to a 109.7. I think Fremantle will look to use him a lot more than Ryan, just when attacking the ball. And I do think there's that potential for him to take a little jump in his scoring. So I think they'll use him as the main attacking halfback option. But yeah, so I think he's more of your consistent type. But with how I projected him, I'm saying he can go anywhere between 90 and 130 most weeks. So I'm pretty content with Clark taking that jump there. I certainly have interest in him in the starting team. So yeah, I like the look of Jordan Clark and how they're going to use him. Who have you got at 5, mate?
At 5, you already spoke about this bloke, Sam Flanders. I got him going at 109. So I thought I was quite harsh with a 10-point drop. But you've gone that little bit more. But just continuing on what you said, he's going to play more forward of the ball. He's going to get that midfield time. So all those cheap kicks in defense, and he had 50 kick-ins last year. He's basically going to lose all of those unless Noble or Rioli go down. So we're going to see him pushing up the ground more into the forward line. It might even get stuck on a wing. So I just think that he is going to be one of the big droppers in average this year. I still think he can be serviceable forward of the ball, but I don't think he will have a season like he did last season.
No, and what a season it was, going all the way to that 100 streak, and then very conveniently, when he played forward of the ball, that's when the streak broke. So I think that's part of the reason with our thought process in Flanders dropping. Obviously, still a pig. We know Hardwick said in the previous preseason that he will. They want him to get the ball, but it's a little bit tougher with that sort of role. So. As we move into, what are we up to? Four. Let's head into number four. I've still got Luke Ryan at 110.2. Now, I think it's a much different story where I still think there'll be the chipping around. But so what did he average last year? 116. So I do think there'll be a little bit of a drop. But I do think those spikes are 100% still there. I just think there'll be a couple of down scores that we've seen in the past. But yeah, if Alex Pearce is fit, then he's got the scope to still go amazing again. So I've chucked him in at 110. He's got that ceiling. We know he'll go 140 plus quite a few times still. But yeah, just we might see those floor games a couple of times, maybe due to accountability. Who have you got at four, mate?
At four, I've got Jack Sinclair going at 110.
Okay.
Um, Injured at the moment. I think he should be good for round one. If not, it'll be round two or three. But looks to be moving back to the halfback now that they've got McRae in that midfield. Garcia and Filippo, when he comes back, they're all going to take that mid role. So I see him going back to the halfback, which we know he scores very, very well in. He had 65 kick-ins last year, which is good for that role, and he's going to share that with Wanganeen Miller. So we know that, but his speed out of the halfback, I think that's what Miller lacks, is just that genuine speed. He's
Yep.
more your silky ball user,
Yep.
where Sinclair's going to burst it out of defense and then try and break the lines that way. So um, and I also think he's probably more susceptible to pushing forward and trying to impact the scoreboard. So I've got him going 110 if that all works out. But with that injury, he might start a bit slower. But I still see him going around that 110 anyway.
Yeah, perfect, mate. Yeah, Sinclair. I mean, he's been a beast for a few years now, and yeah, he's certainly got the potential to have another couple more of those seasons. I think I know your top three. It just depends on the order. Um, at number three, I've got Dan Houston at Collingwood going 113.7. So if it wasn't for that bloody buy, I would love to start him. I think it'll be quite the 1-2 combo, Houston and Dacos. They'll be both I expect to play a lot of time in midfield and also take the kick-ins. I think they're just going to look for him. They're going to look for him from what I've seen, and from what I've heard with Collingwood. I think they are going to look for him to get the ball, uh, if they can't find Dacos. So he's just one of the prime users of the ball in the AFL competition, and I think certainly, yeah, I think there's going to be a big bump on what he's going to do. So I've put him in at 113 for the Pies at his new club. Who have you put as three?
I've got Luke Ryan. I got him going at 112. So last year he had 149 kick-ins, and he played on from 138. So he's going at 93% there. Um, I do think there will be a slight decrease in those, just because, as you said before, Jordan Clark, they might look to use him, but are they going to use Ryan to kick to Clark and then Clark goes on from there? That's the big question. You made a good point that if Pierce or you know any of the other tall defenders down there, if they go down, then he is more susceptible. But as we know with Luke Ryan, he starts off the season absolutely nuts. I think it was going about 130, 140 at like the start of last season. And then after the buys, he tends to drop off. I don't know if that's just his body or
Yeah, I've
not,
noticed
but
that.
um, I just think that those big scores early, it's hard for him to go, um, under 110. So he's definitely got the scope, and if he's fit, I see him getting plenty of the ball in that Freo defense.
Yep, I agree. So, uh, yeah, I mean, he's just an absolute pig. We know he might score 200 this season the way he goes about it. He'll be against bloody St Kilda probably. And then now we've got a top two, and I reckon we've got the same top two, and their names we haven't discussed yet. Uh,
Correct.
in three, two, one, I we will say who our second highest scoring defender will be. Three, two, one.
Lucky Whitfield.
Whitfield.
Yeah.
What if you put him as an average?
114 average.
Same. Have you put
Oh,
that
really?
or no?
I haven't put it this well. I've just rounded it off. I didn't want to hurt my brain while I was trying to
Yeah.
do all this. So yeah, it's got him at 114.
Yeah, the decimals don't mean much here. So yeah, we've both got him averaging 114. What's the main risk? Probably just how important he is in the Giants system. Is there going to be quite a few tags? That'd be the only risk. But we've heard it out of uh, Kingsley's mouth. He's uh, he's one of the best uh, distributors in the competition. We know how good he can be, how good he was last season, and how good he's been in the past. So we don't see that changing at with the 114 average. In our opinion, I think there'll be a little spike, just due to how much they use him off that half back line. And if he can stay fit, then yeah, the people that don't grab him, they're going to find it hard to grab him. So yeah, what do you think about Whitfield for 2025?
Yeah, I mean, look, going off last season, 159 kick-ins. That's massive.
Yeah.
And played on from 147, so it's 92% there that he plays on from kick-ins. So that's a whole bunch of points. And injuries, he doesn't do soft tissue injuries. It's always just like weird impact injuries, like he's had like sore ribs, or he's like slipped over at home and he's got bone bruising or something. It's always something weird and out there. So he's
Yeah.
pretty reliable. And yeah, he's the main guy kicking the ball in and distribution off out of D50. It's the Whitfield show.
Yep. And yeah, we expect that for 2025. Both with us saying he'll average 114, he's just a great player to watch for the Giants. And if it wasn't for that round zero buy, that round two buy, I think that ownership will be would be a lot higher.
Oh,
And then
definitely.
we know number one, Harry Sheasel. Uh,
Yep.
unless you're gone Nick Martin, no. Okay. So Harry Sheasel, what average have you put him down for?
116.
Okay, a little drop off, gone 120.
Yep.
So let's talk about Sheasel here. I guess we'll both have different arguments as to why he'll go up or down. What are your obviously we know he's an absolute superstar, but a couple of points down, you think?
Yeah. So the big thing for me is we might see him in that forward line a little bit more. He's been
Yep.
trained mid and pushing forward. So there could be times where if he pushes forward, similar to Whitfield, there might be a slight tag there.
Mm,
And it's a lot harder in the forward line to break a tag than it is in the midfield, because in the midfield you've got your guys blocking for you, so you can try and get free. Where you're sort of isolated almost in that forward line.
yeah. And you're always around the ball, regardless of being tagged. So
Yeah,
you can always get a little handball out of that thing. Where in the forward line, it's just yeah, you can't get in your spots, can you?
yeah, exactly. But saying that, he was drafted as a forward, and I think it was the first Pracker game last year or 2 years ago. I forget when he was drafted. I think it was last year. But anyway, he started as a forward and did really well up forward. And for some reason, that they just chucked him on halfback, where he was even better. So he can impact the ball forward. And also, he had 31% CBAs last year, and we think that's going to increase probably around that 50%. Um, they do have a lot of midfielders that they have brought in and they're trying to develop. So I guess that's where the playing forward comes into it. I've probably gone unders at 116, but I just don't see him going 120. He's probably 116 to 118 for me, so which is pretty similar to last year.
I think he made some good arguments as well. I think as well that he could, uh, because of North's situation over the past couple of years, we haven't really seen him get tagged that much.
Mm.
And I just wonder how he would go with that. And I do think North Melbourne will be in more winning opportunities in 2025. So there could be more tagging to get the job done. But in saying that, could he present himself as a potential game winner and get that scaling towards the end of games? That's what I'm sort of thinking. They always look for the ball to get the ball to him. So I think. I think he's got that Nick Dacos style of game where he'll just find the ball regardless. And yeah, I'm not going to say a dramatic jump in production just due to a couple of those things, but I do think there is a couple of points on the table for him. And we'll see how he goes early. I think they'll keep him in the midfield a fair bit
Yeah.
still, especially with that Wardlaw injury. But yeah, there are a couple of guys that could go into the forward line instead. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. We need to still see their practice game. I don't know when it is. I think it's Saturday, to my knowledge.
Uh, I'm not sure. I haven't really kept up with the fixtures. It's just there's games on, so I watch it.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, they play Saturday in Bunbury against the Eagles. So yeah, I'd like to see that mid forward split, but yeah, I think there's a chance he can still up that game. Yeah, so that is about it. So quick summary: we've got Sheasel in there, we've got Flanders in there, we both got Ryan in there, Whitfield. Zorko was an honourable mention for me, I believe.
Yep, yep.
We've both got Sinclair. Both was Houston an honourable mention for you?
Nah, he snuck in at 8.
Yep. And then Jordan Clark, I believe.
Clark was on honourable for me,
Yeah. So we agreed on 6 in the top 8, and
and sick dog. Oh no, wait, no, he was honourable for me. He just missed out. Yep.
yep. So Zorko had honourable mentions, and then Sicily and Jordan Clark there, and Zorko was an honourable mention for me, and we had one differential. You had McGovern, I had Wanganeen Miller in that top
Yep.
10. So yeah, pretty consistent list. Is there anyone? Could you name a player off the top of your head that could? We usually get a couple of bolters. Is there one that sticks out to you? If
I was
the
I was talking
Yeah,
to someone about it just before. Let me get up that message quickly.
yeah,
So a few people that I think could be bolters. Where is it? Um, Bailey Dale, we know is going to be up there, but he's
yeah,
injured at the moment. Um, I can't seem to find it. That there was a few cheaper options. Here we go. So in defense, Griffin Logue is one that
yeah,
is someone who I'm keeping an eye on. Obviously, he's had his injury concerns, but I think in that North Melbourne defense, now that they have Combin down there, he could be playing that intercept third type tall, and we know he can score well. It's just his body that lets him down. He's someone there, and Miller from Adelaide.
yes.
He's looking good in pre-season, but again, it's just another guy that gets injured. So they're two cheaper options that I'm looking to maybe be that cheap enabler, but not super set on in the defense there. So
Yeah, that's fair enough. Um, I guess for me, I mean, I'm looking at one right here. Harry Perryman, could he skyrocket into top six contention, or maybe a Matty Roberts from Sydney if he gets the correct role? There's a couple of guys around the mark. Could Kane Farrell get that role that Houston had? Is Sam DeConning going to play full time ruck? But gee, he didn't look good in it. Cal Mills, as you mentioned, could he come back from the dead and
And
go nuts?
Jaden Short with
Yeah, Jake.
their small 10, 15 meter kicks that they do, he's going to get plenty of it. But um, you know, he's baited everyone before. Like, I'm not going him this year just because the last 4 years he's burned me each time. So I'm
Yeah.
just staying away.
No, I'm picking him. Why not? Yeah, yeah.
Fair.
I don't know. I don't know. Just why not? Um, just it'll be cool to see him take a kick and see if he's done a soft tissue injury. So that'll be
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, I think we'll leave it there, guys. Corey, thank you so much for jumping on the channel, mate. I really appreciate it.
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me on. I had a great little chat here, and hopefully we do it again sometime soon.
Of course, mate. Of course, mate. No doubt about it. Yeah, we'll wrap things up, guys. Thanks so much for watching. It's SDS SuperCoach here, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a good one, guys. Catch ya.